The transit of Saturn in Aries is going to be having us really look at our long-term goals and learn about maturing into the best version of ourselves, understanding delayed gratification, and taking the lead of our life. This is the reading for all 12 zodiac signs. For this video, you want to look to your sun, moon, and rising sign. Your rising sign is most important, predominant. Your sun is secondary, and then your moon is more internal and emotional and more getting to the real, deeper part of who you are. So, I want to say a couple of things, first of all. One, before I forget, that a lot of these themes that I'm going to be talking about will be repeated probably throughout, these readings, most likely, because I am talking about how these signs can grow from this transit to become a better version of themselves. That's what this whole 12 sign reading is about. So it may be things that they can work on or things that they can step into that are talents that they can just grow into. How can they grow through these transits? What can they gain through these transits based off of their own self? So that is what I will be focusing on, in this video, in this podcast. So the themes will be repeated because signs have their certain characteristics and traits. There's only so much information that you can cover with the signs and their characteristics and traits. I mean, my Lilith in Gemini is like, there is just not enough information about this. I don't have enough to say about this. Anyway, but anyway, the other thing is that when I give these readings, it's like an oracle reading through astrology. I'm not telling you this is what you need to do. This is what you should do. I'm giving you things to consider. That's all of this is. You cannot live astrology because there's one transit going on, another transit going on. So you might as well get intellectual about it, and you might as well just be learning about it and studying it instead of grounding it, because there's a Mercury retrograde going on. There's a full moon. There's a planet in this sign. Like, it's just too much, and you'll drive yourself crazy trying to balance it all and trying to live it all at once. So you might as well delete that mindset and just focus on, oh, I'm genuinely interested in this. So I may very well listen to this and not actually embody the things that I say for my sign, because I said this on another transit, another video. That may be very well happen. So don't think that I'm telling you this is what you should do, although it does feel natural to present it that way, because that's what makes the most sense for me to do it, is to kind of but I'm giving you things to think about. This is all that is. I mean, what is the point of giving a reading to signs if you're not giving them things to think about? Like I have to do it the way that feels most natural to me. So I'm doing this video because I recorded a video on Saturn in Aries. I'm doing this podcast as in addition to my Saturn Aries video, which was very, very long, had a lot of information in it. My videos are reduced down of information. I was still doing it the way I used to when I made this video. So I've reduced it down to just a few points for each sign. So you can go back and check out that video, which got a lot of views compared to my other videos. I'm very, very glad that many people are watching it because I put a lot into that. It's very important transit. And so this is going to be for all 12 signs. So without further ado, let's get into it. Let's start with Aries, first of all. So Aries, sun, moon, or rising. This is about focusing on your long-term goals. What are your long-term goals? Aries is so much in the short term. And if they get disinterested in a goal, like they start goals, and they're so stimulated, and they're so enthusiastic about those goals, and they're so enthused, if that's a word, to use, well, I'm going to say it is, about the goal, about what they're doing, and they're so excited about it. They're so up in the charts about it. But then when they get into it enough, the fire dies away. And they need to start something else because it's not stimulating enough. It's not, it's not giving them excitement. Well, think of a fire. Think of a fire. Well, you can only light it for a certain amount of time, but that fire is going to die out. So you have to put logs on the fire again to get it to burn. So, it's where, you're focusing on, choosing to focus on what your long-term goals are. Not necessarily the short-term goals where you lose interest in it, but really, really becoming serious with yourself about what are the goals that I can actually focus on long-term, that I can actually commit to in that way. You want to commit to your goals, not just starting and stopping things and finishing things. Like Aries start things, but they don't always finish them. I am an exception to that. I consider myself an evolved version of Aries who is living at the high road of Aries. I'm, really stepping into my Aries energy these days, and I'm very, very committed to my goals, and I know what my values are, and I know what, my soul is committed to in that way. So, what feels right for me. And, so there's also the importance of delayed gratification. This is very, very huge. This is a huge Saturn lesson in Aries. I will say, the fact is Saturn is considered fallen Aries, because if Saturn is so much about long-term, slowing down, taking things one step at a time, Aries is fast. Aries is impulsive. I want it done now. And so this need for, I want it now. I need to have it now. Now, it could be, you could say OCD, but that's a label. I don't think that we should use labels. I think that sometimes people, when I get in that mindset where, I want it now. Oh, you have OCD. Well, I have OCD, but, just blaming so many things for this, disorder that I have is not right. Putting it in a category is not right. So it's more appropriate to say that Aries should really, really consider the very, very strong importance with delayed gratification and the benefits that can bring through waiting. Because when you put all that hard work into something and you stick it out and you wait it out long enough, it will be so worth it. You'll appreciate it more naturally as a feeling, and you'll like it more if you've worked for it. I mean, that's the truth of life. And so, and that's one of the lessons that Capricorn can teach Aries. That, don't take it from me, take it from Capricorn. But so consider your actions before taking them. Huge. Because Aries just acts without thinking. Aries just, acts out of impulse. Like I want to do it in the moment, I want to do it now. And it doesn't consider its actions. So that's what it's invited to move into as well. Let's move on to Taurus. Now, Taurus can get stuck in things very, very easily. Like Mars in Taurus especially. Mars in Taurus is just so stuck in the weeds. They get so... they're immovable. They're kind of lazy at worst, where they can just be so caught up in the pleasure and the comfort of it because it feels so good, and not evolving out of that, not stretching out of that, not working and being conscious and diligent and actually putting the work in. One of the downsides of Taurus is gluttony, of just eating and indulging and being lazy. So this gives you the energy to really, really pick up the energy if you haven't done that, and get rid of that shadow, where it's the reverse, what Taurus can learn from Aries. And, it's kind of, where you go reverse and you go forward with what the signs can learn from each other. But so, they can learn to, really have, the fire to really, this is a goal, this is something that I want to achieve, and this is what I'm aiming for. Another lesson is being self-sufficient. And Taurus is very, very good at this. You can really, really lean into your self-sufficiency at this time period. Like really, really. I think I kind of want to stop talking about these things like you already have it, because your sun, moon, and rising, you're kind of growing into this energy. You're, as a sun sign, you are also evolving into this energy and the highest manifestation of this energy. You don't just have it. You're growing into it. So I realized I started to do that. I'm going to kind of change that a little bit and make my points more equal, maybe from this point forward. Okay, so really become more like I may reinforce traits that are like, I got this, I'm familiar with. Great. Then what I'm saying makes sense, and there's no work to do. There's nothing to do. There's nothing to consider. You're already good at this. So that may come up as very real, and I realize that not everything that I say will resonate with everybody, and that's just the reality. So I may say something and like take what resonates and leave the rest. Like, take what throughout these whole readings. Take what does make sense for you, and then if it doesn't, then just detach and don't worry about it. Like, then we get so wrapped up in this expectation of, oh, it has to be accurate, oh, it has to resonate. That can be very, very limiting when it comes to astrology. Let it go and just be curious. Just be open, just be willing to listen to whatever, and then you may actually find that things are more accurate when you just open up your mind a little bit more, instead of having the expectation, oh, it must be accurate. So, self-sufficiency. One of the things about Taurus is it's fine being around others, but it's also great being on its own. Because Taurus is so self-sufficient. It can build a house on its own. It can live on a roof on its own. It can eat on its own. It can listen to music on its own. It can build wealth and money on its own. It can do all this work on its own. It's just a self-sufficient energy. And so you can really lean into that. And so this is about looking at your instincts. What is your body telling you to act upon? What is that gut feeling inside of you telling you, I want to go in this direction. I want to do this thing, and it's an instant thing. What is your instinct trying to tell you, and can you develop this with groundedness? Because you're already, as a Taurus, you already have that quality within you of being very, very grounded. And so you can really use it to your advantage when it comes to the instincts, really utilizing your instincts. And then pacing yourself. Taurus is very, very patient. It knows how to take things slow and steady and steady Eddie, and pace yourself during this time. Don't rush the process. If anyone is rushing you, because Taurus does not want to be rushed. If anyone is rushing you, then say, nope, I'm going to take my time. I'm going to pace myself. I'm going to take it slow. I'm going to take my time. I'm going to enjoy the process. And I'm going to get it done in the best possible way that I possibly can do it. Because when you take your time, you can do things in the best way that you can do them, and that is the truth. Moving on to Gemini. Now with Gemini, oh my goodness, just like Aries, when something dies out, when the stimulation dies out, you move on. When you lose interest in something, very hard to commit to it. Very, very hard to stick it out, because you just want it. It's a superficial energy. It's like all over the place. Like a million tabs on your computer kind of thing. A million books in your bookshelf that you're reading all at once. It's like, you're focused on something, and then, oh, you have this thought of something else, and you're focused on that. Oh, you have a thought of something else, and then you focus on that. Like, you see how breathe and choose to say, I am committed. Okay, I'm interested in this, and I'm putting a boundary on this. I'm interested in this, and I'm interested in the other things, but I choose to focus my energy on this and invest my energy so that I can really actually learn things about this topic, instead of just sampling, instead of just being superficial. And it's like you're chasing down your ideas, and then you get so caught up in the idea of what you're actually interested in, and not committing to it, not learning about it and opening up your mind and investing into, getting into it. So that's one of the lessons of Gemini, that if you are evolving with Gemini. So commit to those kind of things. Okay. And then, the other thing is, Gemini is so caught up in community. Like, Gemini is one of those signs that cares so much about its community, what others think of it. I'm getting so caught up in this interaction, that interaction. I'm so superficial with talking to this person, talking to that person, that it loses sight with its own identity. It loses sight with its own heart, what it authentically wants, what its personal values are. And so getting in touch with your identity is a really, really huge value instead of getting caught up in others. And then focusing on the here and now. Gemini can get so caught up in, just the noise in the head, the mental chatter, the thoughts running through. Like, Gemini has a million thoughts that it's very, very hard to ground them. So focusing on the moment, here and now, grounding yourself into the moment, finding ways to be living in a mindful way can really, really help Gemini get out of the head, get out of the talking, get out of all that. I certainly need to work on that because I'm really, really much in my Gemini energy right now. Getting grounded, doing things that help ground you, and, staying focused in the present is a huge lesson with this. That are stimulating things to do. So, and the other thing is being decisive. Gemini can be prone to indecisiveness because of all these people and all these options, all these things to learn about. You can't decide which direction to go in. And Sagittarius is like, the opposite side of Gemini says, pick a direction, pick a course, expand, and be willing to just focus on that direction instead of just scattering yourself all over. So being decisive in that way can really, really help you a lot. Cancer. So Cancer is about the home. It corresponds to the 4th house in astrology of home and, roots and all these things. So starting a brand new home, like, putting down new roots during this time. Like, Saturn is a stable force. So putting down new roots, building a stable foundation to your home. Building the ground under you so that things are stable. Like, Saturn wants to make it stable, and build a new home. Saturn in Aries is encouraging you to start fresh starts, to have fresh starts, to start fresh. And so if you're starting fresh, then you're really leaning into what you want to initiate, and therefore you'll find that your life is moving in a much more positive direction. It's building a positive foundation. And then liberating yourself from the confines of family. Like, we can get so caught up in, just what our family thinks of us, that it can actually be at worst guilt tripping, arguments, blaming, being very pulled down by family, and not being allowed to just live your own life and go out and pursue what you want to pursue. And so if you feel like your family is limiting you and holding you back from being yourself, now is the time to really be honest with yourself and say, how is my family holding me back from what I really want to do in the world? Cancer can be really, really emotional, almost temperamental, depending upon other factors in the chart, but it can be, Cancer can be a reactive energy because it's so, I don't use that word all the time, so focused on its emotions that it really, really, it gets to be that way, and where you need to kind of temper those emotions and cool down from being emotionally reactive and just getting very, very reactive about the things in your life and etc. Okay, and then focus on something. Like commit your emotional energy to something and nurture it like a seed. How you plant a seed in the ground and you nurture it. Like you put water to it, you put sunlight to it, and you nurture that seed. Just like this. So focus on an intention and manifest it in that kind of way. Leo. We're moving on to Leo's sun, moon, and rising signs. So Leo is very much about your passions, and you can really, really use the Saturn and Aries to focus on what you're passionate about, what lights you up, what really makes you feel alive, whatever it is. And I think, I labeled, Leo as the creative thing, as just stereotypical, the creative things that we think of as Leo. It's whatever creativity you define for yourself. Like, I didn't have to go into a whole lot of explanation for creativity because it's, creativity. Think of the creative things when I name it. I shouldn't even have to name it for you. It should just be whatever is creativity to you. Simple as that, no explanation. So, whatever is your passion project or whatever you're passionate about, now's the time to pursue that. Only you know what that is. Now's the time to really step up and take the lead of your life. So if you've been really considering, because Leo is about leadership. It is a leader sign. It was one of the leader signs. Aries is very much about that too. Leo is about leading from the heart, leading from that place of pride and being strong within yourself in that way. And so leading your life as you want to live it is a Leo lesson, and especially for Saturn and Aries. You also want to ground your, your desires that you have. Your very, very strong desires for what you want to do, your desires, your visions, your aspirations, into something that is practical, into something that is grounded. Very, very important to consider doing that. And then who are you born to be? Like, what is your heart telling you that you want to be? What is your heart calling for you to step into? What is that heart calling? Now's the time to really step into that. Virgo. Virgo can get so concerned with everybody else's stuff. Giving supplements to this person, helping out the health of this person, giving weights to that person, giving food, feeding vegetables, nurturing the children, cleaning up the house, doing all these kind of things that it forgets its own health. Its own health and well-being. And now's the time to focus on what is your own health. Focusing on your own mental health, your own emotional health, your own physical health. Because when you work, and be a martyr and serve others, you neglect your own well-being. You neglect your own peace of mind. You neglect your own physical health. Like, you become weak. The shadow of Virgo is not maintaining your physical health. The shadow of Virgo is becoming so weak in your body because you are frantically helping and serving and being a martyr and being crazy and being frenetic and managing everybody else's lives, that you neglect yourself. You neglect to put yourself first. Self-care and doing all these kind of things is the exact opposite of being selfish. It's taking care of yourself and putting yourself first. And that is very, very important. And really making a solid commitment to doing that. Another thing about Virgo is there is an impulsive quality with Virgo. There's a natural quality when something is wrong. Oh, this is not right. Oh, you're doing this wrong. You should have done this way. Oh, your hair is messed up. You didn't clean this up right. You should have put that word in better. Like all these criticisms that you find yourself just saying out of impulse. Because it is just, so natural for you to notice and be so tuned into the flaws. And I have Jupiter in Virgo, so this just only expands that. So, the long-term consequences of, consider the long-term consequences and the effect that you have on others when criticizing them. And the same could be said for yourself, like criticizing yourself. But for the sake of others, I want to focus on in this particular reading, it can actually hurt others. Like, Virgo has the genuine desire to help and serve, But sometimes it comes across as critical, mean, and hurts others. Like, consider how you're, talking and doing all that because it may hurt others, and instead, don't try to do it in a mental level. Drop in. Catch yourself before you become so critical. Drop into your heart. Say it with compassion. And when you do it, you will be honest about it. You will be honest about this criticism. You will not say anything different from what you intend and different from what's on your mind, but it won't become across as so nitpicky and so judgmental. It'll become across as you being honest and you giving constructive criticism in an honest and kind way. The person may not change, like you can't expect the person to change what you're criticizing them for because you can't control others, but at least you're saying it in a kinder way. And then stepping into your autonomy and pride. Like Virgo can be very, very shy. Virgo can be very self-conscious, like looking in the mirror and being so tuned, to the flaws itself. Like they may appear so cool and so chill and put together on the surface, but inside they can kind of be nervous wrecks at worst. They can be very, very just insecure about themselves. And so now's the time to become more secure within yourself. And so letting go of the tight, rigid, self-conscious feeling and be true to yourself. Love yourself. Libra. This is a major transit for Libra. I'm telling you right now because, Aries is your opposite sign. And this comes through with Saturn and Aries really, really strongly. You are learning to be true to yourself and not let the values of others, not let the opinions of others and the judgments of others define who you are. I'm not letting others' opinions of me in my real life define who I am unless in my heart it feels like, okay, I'm willing to listen and be genuinely open to this and I want to listen. And I don't want to cut this off. Like there's a difference between when someone's saying, like someone can say it in an honest, kind way, and giving a criticism, and you take it very, very well because you can see that they mean very, very well. But sometimes others are just so critical and so nitpicky, and so mean that you feel hurt, like you feel critical. And the discernment between that is very, very important for Libras. And I will also say, for comments, like when I get critical comments and negative comments, I will not let that get the better of what I want to produce. And I made a whole song about that. And the message was, I won't be drained by the comments. You won't get the better of me. I'm doing this for me, not for the viewers. Like all these kind of things like that, where I'm not letting others define me. And so, focusing on your own passions. You're so caught up in relationship and maintaining a balanced relationship with the other that what about the balance within yourself when it comes to what lights you up, what you're passionate with yourself? Like, I want to say that, Libra is so concerned with balancing relationships that you actually understand in order to have a balanced relationship, you have to be balanced within yourself. You have to put yourself into the picture because you, you yourself are part of the picture. So what lights you up? What are you passionate about? What do you want to pursue? That's very, very important. Now, this can also be very, very good. I brought this up in other videos, but also being very, very decisive. Because Libra is so indecisive. Well, I could do this, but what about this option? And what if they don't like it? And what about this person? And what about all these things that you can drive yourself crazy? Like there's a character in The Good Place, Chidi, who's like his mind is quote unquote broken because they can't just make decisions because it's just impossible for him to make a decision. He could really benefit a lot from this transit. A lot from Mira's energy, I can tell you that much right now. But in general, Libra, what are the long-term goals that you are decisive about? And being decisive about those goals. And initiating your own goals as opposed to the goals that others want you to achieve. Like, you're not, again, it comes back to not pleasing the other. Pleasing yourself. What pleases yourself? What makes your heart sing? Go in that direction. Scorpio. Now, the thing with Scorpio is that they're so emotionally invested into things. They're very, very, invested into the things that they decide to do. Okay. So, what are you emotionally invested in? Like, what is your heart and soul just so obsessed with, and what is the thing that you eat? That like with Scorpio, I eat it, I breathe it, I sleep it. Like, it's just that intense. Like, it's the interest or passion that is that intense. You can't get it off your mind. You can't get it off your heart. So now's the time where you can grow from that, and you can step into that and go full force as a fixed sign in that direction. What can you put consistent effort towards? Scorpio is a fixed sign, and it is fixed water. So what are you emotionally invested in? Emotional investment, fixed water. And so what, in putting consistent effort towards that, being committed, staying the course of that. Maybe this is about, because Scorpio is so stuck in the shadows and stuck in its own dark, yucky, messy parts of itself, so stuck in the shadows of the secrets. But what about getting out into the world? What about saying, I'm open to the adventure? I'm open to exploring, another place. I'm open to finding new interests. Or, like this lightening up of a perspective is very, very important, which is the Sagittarius lesson. Like, if a Scorpio is so deep and all that, Sagittarius is lighten up. We'll get the higher view. We'll get the bigger picture of this. So, Aries is very much about, making the most of the moment. Aries has a zest for life, or it's so enthusiastic about life, but Scorpio at worst can be very depressed and very down in the dumps about life because of how hard it is and how hard it is being human. But it is very much about lifting up the energy and picking up the energy and adventuring. And also cooling down your emotions. Cooling down all these flames and all these intense emotions that you have, because you can get so wrapped up and so reactive with your intense emotions that Saturn and Aries is like, we're cooling this down, we're settling this down and becoming more mature about this. Sagittarius has these really, really lofty goals. Capricorn, which is Saturn ruled, says let's ground these goals and let's actually commit to these goals and make them practical. So, grounding your goals into long-term goals, taking your ambitions that you have with where you want to shoot your arrow and turning them into long-term goals. Now, for you, it's great for you to become very adventurous, you to become very excitement, really using your excited zest for life to your advantage, and becoming, really utilizing that. So adventure and excitement is a really, really huge thing for you. And, going your own way. Following what your soul is calling you towards. Like Sagittarius says, I'm traveling and I'm going this direction of my soul. Like, I'm expanding this direction because it feels right to my soul. It's very, very much tied to identity. Very much tied to that. And then, the other thing with Sagittarius is taking control of your life. Really not letting others, define, what you want in your life and what you want to actually put forth, and take control of your own destiny. Like, I have this ambition, I'm gonna head there. I'm gonna aim for the stars. I'm gonna reach for the stars, and I'm gonna go to that place, and I'm gonna do this thing, and I'm going to experience this. Because I, in my soul, want to experience this very, very soul-connected energy. Capricorn. Now, what is in your authenticity? What goal just lights you up? what ambition that you have for your career, for whatever you have. Maybe it's a creative project that you put aside because you have a separate career. Or maybe you have obligations that you have to attend to. Like putting those aside and saying, what do I authentically want in my life? Becoming very serious about that. And also, Aries can give you optimism, having more faith, seeing potentials of your goals, seeing what this could become, looking at the more positive silver lining of the goal instead of getting caught up in the negativity of it. Getting caught up in like Capricorn can be realistic, but you can be realistic in a way where it's not like, oh, this is how it is, and this is tough, and you have to do the money, and you have to do that kind of thing. It's very, very down and very, somber. Like Capricorn can be kind of depressing and cold, and at worst, and Aries can help its liven the energy up a little bit. And say to Capricorn, there is a more optimistic way to go about life, just so that you're aware. Okay. So, stepping into a role of leadership. Capricorn can really, really lead the band, be very, leadership-oriented, focus on, leading the pack, leading the clan to victory. So, leading what you want to in your life. It's about leading, work, being the boss, being the CEO, whatever that role is. So, stepping into that role is very huge. And also, Capricorn is here to become mature, to learn about becoming, I think it's a very, very interesting philosophy, and it's very enlightening to look at, well, you're born with these signs, but you're learning to become the best versions of these signs. This is the chart that you are learning to step into in your life. Kind of like your North Node, how you're learning to step into your North Node, like your sun sign, you're becoming that as you're growing older. Your Mercury, you're learning how to communicate in this way, the highest expression. Like, you're learning to be more mature about your goals. And become, what, and some of you watching this may already have learned that and stepped in that lesson. Great, you're on the path with Capricorn. That's a good sign. But Capricorn is about becoming very, very mature, and in a way, when you are mature, you are not impulsive and you're not rash. You're taking your time. You're thinking about things carefully. You're strategizing. You're doing all these things with your goals. Now let's talk about Aquarius. I have some things to say about this. What are the passions that set you apart from others? That set you apart from just blending in with the group and the community, and getting along and looking at everyone else's differences. You forget to look at what makes you unique, what your passions are. So focus on that. Now, one of the things about Aquarius, is it's so consumed with its own, with the whole collective, with the broader outlook. Like, it loves humanity as a whole. Like, it loves the broad, cares a lot about humanity, but in its personal life, in its realistic life, it can be very, very cold. It can be very, very cut off, very detached, very disinterested, very out of its element. It can feel like the odd one out in its convenient environment. So it prefers to rise above the flame, kind of fray, and float in the whole collective thing of all, and then just blend in and not be an individual in the crowd. Like, this is saying, be the one who. How can you stand out apart from the crowd? So focusing on maintaining your own life, your relationship, your job, your your projects, your maintaining your house, instead of collective issues and the sake of humanity and all these very, very big, broad things that you can. Well, you have to understand, Aquarius, you can only do so much to help humanity. You have to understand your own limitations, that you are a human. You can only help so many people, you can only stand up for so many causes, and do all these things. Like, you have to get real. You cannot just help everyone be so concerned with humanity all the time. You have to, like, how am I contributing to humanity? What am I doing in my life, in my personal life, to contribute to humanity? So you have to bring it back. Leo is very much about the personal life and the personal stuff. That's what Aquarius can learn from. So getting out of the collective consciousness sometimes and focusing on the personal. Also, this is great for really stepping into a humanitarian leadership role. Stepping into this role of being a humanitarian and standing up for all these causes of human welfare, of human, well-being, racism, animal care, poverty, the justice system, the law, all these things that are for the good of humanity. Like with these humanitarian issues, you're often very passionate about the things that impact a broader group of people because your focus is on the collective. Your focus is on the broader group. That's what Aquarius is focused on. Focused on. So, it does depend if you have a lot of other personal energies in your chart, then it does make a difference. But how can you step into your own leadership role and, lead a team to victory with, what you're passionate about? So how can, and also, not looking to others, not looking to, for others, permission, for others, validation for, like, is this okay? Is this right? Will it hurt humanity? Will it help humanity? Like, doing what you authentically want and, rebelling and being your authentic self, because Aquarius is here to ultimately stand out and be the odd one out, because it's also not just about humanity, but it's the it's a complicated energy because it's a dichotomy. Like, it's so focused on humanity, but then it also wants to be rebellious, be its own authentic self. Like, it's a complicated sign with many layers to understand. So there is multiple layers to this conversation here. So not waiting for permission before stepping up and doing what you authentically, genuinely want. Finally, Pisces. Now with Pisces, Pisces can be probably one of the most ungrounded signs, if not the most grounded, because it's just spacey. Like, it gets caught up in its head. It's doing one thing and then it does another thing. It's talking about one thing and then it gets distracted with something else. And then it gets caught in this imagination, caught in this fantasy. So this is about grounding that energy and focusing on what visions that you want for your life and actually going out and achieving things and making things happen in the world. Another downside with Pisces is the structure element. Pisces lacks structure. It has no boundaries. Intuition doesn't have a structure. Imagination, creativity does not have a structure. I'm not saying cut off that part of you entirely, but ground this into a structure. Put structure to your life. Put parameters to your life that is naturally filled with creativity and dreams and imagination, because that's what Pisces life is. It's filled with this. They live it day in and day out. So putting structure to this is really critical. And Pisces is so non-committal. Flaky is kind of a negative word to use for Pisces, but there is some truth to it. And I will say, with Pisces, you can stay the course. Like, can you stay organized? Like, Pisces lacks organization. It's all over the place. It has its, probably books all over the place in its house. It has its, life. Unless you have a lot of, Virgo and aspects of your chart, Pisces energy is a disorganized energy. Where it's like, all these things all over the place. So can you stay the course and can you stay committed to your goals instead of getting distracted? And also, taking the lead of your life, being assertive and not being so passive and not being so caught in victimhood, like, I can't control this and I have to surrender to the universe. Like, Pisces is like subservient to the universe at worst, and not actually stepping up and stepping into its power as a co-creator and taking the lead of its life. So that's something also to consider with Pisces. All right, that is your 12 sign reading for your zodiac sign for Saturn and Aries through all 12 of the signs. Thank you for watching. Thank you for commenting. Thank you for liking. I'm really, really anxious to hear what your comments are under these videos, under these 12 sign videos, and what you have to truly say about my approach of doing this. And I would highly encourage you to share this video with others who are interested in astrology, because I think that they would find this video with many things that they would find valuable to them. So I really, really encourage you to share this video. I do all the things. I hope that you enjoyed your reading, hope that you got something out of it, and I will see you on the next video. I will see you on the next podcast episode in the Vastness of Google podcast, which I believe will be Jupiter direct in Cancer, and Jupiter direct in Cancer for your sign. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening.